Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Mario and Luigi Brothership. In this one, Mario and Luigi are sucked into a mysterious portal and are teleported to the land of Concordia. Concordia used to exist as a bunch of separate individual lands all connected by connector, but a cataclysmic event happened to destroy the Unitree, this being the binding force of all that connector, all these different islands. And so now most of Concordia is just a giant ocean with a bunch of islands scattered around. And so Mario and Luigi are tasked to unifying Concordia and connect all of the islands together under the Unitree with Connector. As you can probably tell by now, the theme of this game is very much all about bonds and connections and unification. There is also an electrical kind of theme. The residents of Concordia all have like outlet faces, and it's all about this like combination of nature and electricity. So we have a new character that is trying to grow a new Unitree on a ship island called Ship Island. This kind of acts as your like central hub that you'll be returning to frequently after visiting other unique islands. Ship Island will be guided along these different currents in real time, and if you are nearby an island, then you can use the cannon to launch to said island, but you are going to have to make sure you're riding the correct current in order to go exactly where you need to go. Now, at the beginning of the game, this can be a little tedious because you essentially just have to like wait in real time for Ship Island to navigate through these currents and go to the area that you want to go. There are features later on that kind of speed up the process, but if you're going to a brand new island, that's what you need to do. Now, if you connect this remote island using Connector, then you can use a warp pipe to just teleport to it whenever you want. I do think that there is a nice diversity amongst all of these different islands. There's different themes, like one is all about dance and music, and one is all about art, one is all about this like combination of hot, fiery lava areas and then like really icy cold areas. I think I would have appreciated a little more diversity, maybe different residents, because it is all of these basic outlet Concordia residents, and so I think it could have stood out a little bit more if there were different creatures on all of the different islands. And sometimes these islands can become a little tedious in that you are going to have to return to these islands that you connect quite frequently. So the first time you go to an island, in order to connect it to the new Unitree, you need to navigate your way to the island's lighthouse. And usually, I mean, there's usually going to be barriers here. You're going to have to like solve the residents' problems or defeat the bad guys that are blocking the way to the lighthouse. But once you connect it, then you can at least warp back to it. But you're going to be returning to these islands even after they're connected quite frequently in the form of either side quests, or the main story has you returning to these islands multiple times as well. So I was really excited when I first picked this game up because there was a lot of similarities to like the old school Mario and Luigi that we know and love. I started off with the very first Mario and Luigi Superstar, and I've made my way all the way across. I think the only Mario and Luigi game that I haven't played is Paper Jam, where they kind of like do a crossover with Paper Mario, but like the combat has a lot of the same things that we know and love about Mario and Luigi. It's like that real-time turn-based combat where you have to press buttons at the correct time if you're jumping on an enemy. If Mario's jumping on an enemy and you press A right when Mario lands on an enemy, then you'll do an extra little jump. There's the bro moves, and this is where Mario and Luigi do like a combo move where you have to do specific button presses. There's also ways to like counter enemy attacks, so if an enemy dashes at you, you can jump out of the way and then land on them to do extra damage to them. And so it just felt like old school Mario and Luigi. And I think I've gotten to the point now where I don't really expect that, especially when it comes to like the Paper Mario series, because I feel like the Paper Mario series just has kind of spun off and done its own type of gameplay gimmicks, very unlike Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. You have your standard equipment. It is a very simplified version. It's not something like you might find in a Final Fantasy game. You have like your overalls, which usually covers your your defensive maneuvers. You have your boots and your hammer, which affect your jump and hammering respectively. And then you have 2 different accessories, your gloves, and then almost like this medallion chest kind of thing. And these affect various stats. And so it's got like the traditional RPG status that I really enjoy. It doesn't have badges, but in replacement of badges, it has these plugs that you plug into these special outlets, and these plugs provide additional temporary bonuses. So to start out, you're going to get 3 of these outlets, which means you can put in 3 of these plugs, and these plugs can do various things, like make it so you can do an extra attack, or make it so a spiky ball drops from the ceiling anytime you damage an enemy. There's also defensive things like make it easier to dodge enemy attacks, or make it so your counterattacks do more damage. When I say temporary, it means they have certain charges. The really simple plugs you can use maybe like 15 times before they run out of charges. The really overpowered plugs, you might only get about 3 charges. But once they are depleted, it's not that you don't get to use them ever again. It's just that you're going to have to do a set amount of combat scenarios in order for these plugs to recharge. And I do think that this plug socket system is an interesting thing, because it kind of forces you to change around your strategy around your build all the time, rather than just you found the most overpowered accessory or badge and that's what you're going to stick through for the rest of the game. And so it kind of keeps the combat fluid. Depending on what kind of enemies you're fighting, you're going to want to use different plugs, and it doesn't take a turn to load up new plugs into these outlets. And so even on the right before you do your attack, it's totally possible for you to change the plugs whenever you want, assuming that they all have a charge. One of the gimmicks in this game is Luigi logic, and I feel like Mario and Luigi series has tried to prop up Luigi for a while now, ever since Dream Team. It's all about Luigi. You're going into Luigi's dreams, and they're really trying to give more of a spotlight to Luigi, and so I can kind of appreciate that, because Mario usually takes the spotlight. But in this game, when you're just navigating around the world, Luigi might get an idea called Luigi logic, and this kind of gives you like a little mini game in order to navigate the islands themselves. In combat, specifically during like the end boss battles at the end of each island, Luigi might get an idea that you'll have to play like a little mini game, but then you'll get to do a lot of bonus critical damage to the boss while they are dazed. It mixes things up. It's charming, it's cute, but after about 10-15 hours, it kind of becomes somewhat overused, and then it puts the gameplay to a halt, because then you have to watch Luigi do this thinking animation and then come up with an idea, and it's like it only takes maybe 20-30 seconds in order for him to come up with his Luigi logic idea, but it does kind of put things to a halt, especially after you've been playing this game for a while. There are maneuvering techniques that Mario and Luigi learn across their adventures. It usually means that they're doing some sort of combination technique in order to navigate around. I mean, the first one that you unlock, you both kind of twirl together to form a Mario and Luigi UFO in order to like fly across long gaps. There's one where you can like form into a ball and like zoom across rails. And so you will unlock additional traversal techniques, and this is also another excuse to go back and return to the islands that you've already unlocked the lighthouse for. Going back to the currents, there's a couple things that you want to look out for as you are navigating around these currents. There's one that are reefs, and they're basically like these statues, and most of them are just references to previous Mario and Luigi games. I really didn't actually think this was worth it in the end, because you have to find like 20 of these reefs and uncover them, and then there's somebody on Ship-Shape Island that you can talk to get that gives you rewards. I didn't actually find that the end rewards for navigating all these reefs was worth it. I don't think I even used the final prize that you get. And that was kind of the theme in terms of a lot of this extra content. Most of these side quests that you can do, I just felt like the rewards weren't really worth the effort. Hidden amongst a lot of these islands are these grandpa-looking turnips that you can pull out of the ground, and they're funny. They kind of go through this long, humorous dialogue. They tell you a corny joke at the end. And And so it's charming in that way, but like the rewards for finding all the grandpa turnips, finding all the reefs, doing the side quests, it doesn't give you any XP, which is what I really want, but it'll throw you like a couple mushrooms, or it'll throw you some syrup to revive your battle points. And so it just gives you a couple items. Maybe it'll give you some equipment, but you're going to end up replacing most of the equipment that you get. And so I actually 100% complete this game. Like, I did everything you could possibly do, and I kind of regret it. I kind of, looking back, man, I didn't really need to try and go out for those reefs or do all of the side quests that are available, because it just ended up kind of feeling like bloat and really padding the gameplay time. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about next, the long gameplay time of this one. Now, I can't remember how long the other Mario and Luigi games are. I want to say maybe 20, 30 hours max, but by the time I beat this game, I have put 43 hours into it, and a good chunk of those 43 hours kind of felt like bloat, where you're just going back to the island you already rescued and doing a little task for them, or doing all the side quests. There's a lot of backtracking here. There's also a lot of dialogue that you're going to have to read through, and most of the dialogue kind of felt inconsequential by the end of the game. And so it's funny because when this game first came out, it was hailed as amazing. Oh my gosh, Mario and Luigi is back. It's amazing. It's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, best game ever. And then I felt like, you know, a month or two passed after this game's release, and suddenly the reviews came like, it's okay. It's kind of boring. And now I understand why, because like the first 20 hours of this game felt awesome. Like, I loved it. It was just traditional Mario and Luigi goodness, but then it started feeling like a lot of bloat was being exposed. You know, you feel like you're near the end of the game, and suddenly there's more to do. And then once you reach that point, you're like, okay, now I'm done with the game. Nope, there's still a lot more to do. And it just felt like this game just kept on going. I would have loved this game if it was 15, 20 hours shorter than what it actually was, but once you reach that 35, 40 hour mark, this just starts feeling like a chore, because it just has you go back to Heat Freeze Island and do this. Okay, now go back to Twisted Tree Island and do this. And so suddenly it doesn't become about like unifying all of these new islands that you get to explore. It's more about just solving the drama of all of the things that you've seen already, and more problems arise. But these new problems that arise, they just kind of feel like MMO quests. And in that, I mean like fetch quests, or it's like, hey, you know that big boss that you fought on this first big island? Well, now they are corrupted and you need to fight them again, but they're even stronger. And it just felt like a lot of unnecessary padding for an otherwise really great game. You know, I was also pretty excited because this game kind of has like a very basic crafting system, in that you acquire these materials on all of these different islands, and you gather them up, and then every once in a while there's like a side quest from the master crafter, and she's like, hey, bring me these materials and I'll craft you some accessories. And usually by the time that side quest becomes available, I already have the materials available just from playing through the game. And the accessories that you are crafting, usually I don't end up even equipping. Even though I do the side quests, I unlock the recipe for these accessories. Most of the time, the accessories that I already have equipped are better. So it's like, why am I even worrying about gathering up all these materials when the crafting system is so bare bones, and I usually don't even end up needing these materials? There's also a fishing little mini game, very basic, but I think it's just to kind of help you pass the time as you are navigating through these currents. Usually fishing doesn't really matter in the long run either. And there's also some extra things for you to go through in case you are just having a great time going through all the bloat. There are like achievements, and I didn't actively go for the achievements. They just kind of happened as I was playing through the game. But like, hey, you use this bro attack, this bro combo X times, and now you get a reward. And usually the rewards are these beans, and beans will just add like 1 point into a specific stat, which usually doesn't matter in the long run. I mean, I'm sure if you're going through for all of the beans, they eventually add up and they do make a significant difference, but even just leveling up your character will give you like 5 stat points into all of your different stats. And so you can see how minuscule these beans actually are. I will say though, one really cool thing about leveling up in this game, in previous Mario games, if like, let's say Luigi leveled up, you can choose like, okay, I got all the points in these stats, but I want to add an extra point in my defense. It doesn't let you do that, but it's kind of cool in that once you hit these certain thresholds, like, oh, you got to level 15, you can unlock a new permanent passive ability, and some of these are actually pretty cool. Like from now on, you get 20% extra XP, which is awesome. Go for that at the very beginning of the game. There's another one that's just like, hey, make it so your hammer attack does 20% more damage. And so it was fun, like kind of building up your character, leveling up your character in anticipation for the next threshold to see like what the new passive abilities are that you can permanently unlock. And like I mentioned, by the end of the game, I had pretty much done like all of the side quests, done all of the extra content that I possibly could. And so I feel like by the end of the game, yeah, I was pretty over leveled at that point. Was it worth it to do all of that gameplay in order to beat the game? I mean, it kind of depends on who you are. I felt like it was. I actually really enjoyed the final boss fight. It felt very exciting. It felt very hype. I do think that the final boss was unique enough and interesting enough. And I will admit that a part of me was a little sad when the credits started rolling and I realized that my long adventure had come to an end. But I was also very, very satisfied that like, okay, I have beaten Mario and Luigi Brothership, now I can finally play a different game. I mean, I've come to expect the gameplay time to be like this in something like Final Fantasy or like other similar JRPGs, but I mean, a Mario and Luigi game, it doesn't need to be that long. It definitely overstayed its welcome, even though I did really enjoy the end game of this. So I'm actually very conflicted in terms of like how I feel about this game, because it did a lot of things right, but it also just really overstayed its welcome to the point where all of those things that it did really right start to sour and start getting a little spoiled, you know? So I'm going to give this game a grade of 3 out of 5. I still think it's good. I still think it's worth a playthrough. If you have the time, just know that you are dedicating yourself to quite the commitment if you want to see this thing through. I can see both sides of the reviews. I do think it's an amazing game. I do think that it can become quite mediocre and tedious as well. Well, folks, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Mario and Luigi Brothership, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Luigi? Mario! Let's go!